Have you ever wondered what secrets lie hidden in the darkest corners of our world? What unsettling truths lurk beneath the waves, within forgotten tombs, or deep in uncharted territories? Today we're diving headfirst into the abyss, exploring the top 10 disturbing discoveries made during expeditions that will send shivers down your spine and challenge everything you thought you knew about history, humanity, and the unknown. When mountaineers embark on an expedition to the summit of Mount Everest, they expect to face extreme cold and thinning air, but they might not expect to use a human body as a navigational landmark. For nearly 2 decades, the most famous landmark on the northeast ridge was Green Boots. This was the body of a climber, frozen in a curled position in a limestone cave, wearing bright neon green boots that stood out vividly against the white snow. The identity is widely believed to be Tsewang Paljor, an Indian climber who lost his life in the 1996 Everest disaster. Because the environment is so hostile and the air is so thin, recovering remains from the death zone is often impossible. For years, every climber pushing for the summit had to literally step over or walk past Green Boots, a disturbing and silent sentinel that serves as a grim reminder of the mountain's lethality. It is a discovery that highlights the thin line between a successful expedition and an eternal resting place. In the annals of American history, few mysteries are as unsettling as the lost colony of Roanoke. In 1587, over 100 English settlers established a colony on Roanoke Island. Their leader, John White, soon returned to England for supplies. But his return was delayed for 3 long years due to war. When he finally made it back in 1590, what he found was enough to haunt any explorer. The entire settlement was gone. Not a single person remained. There were no signs of struggle, no remains, no clues. Only the word Croatan carved into a wooden post and crow carved into a nearby tree. To this day, the fate of the Roanoke colonists remains one of history's most perplexing enigmas. Theories abound: assimilation with local tribes, a devastating attack, or even attempts to move further inland that went horribly wrong. The sudden, complete disappearance of over 100 people, leaving behind only a cryptic carving, is a disturbing testament to the unforgiving nature of the New World and the enduring power of the unknown. In February 1959, 9 experienced hikers embarked on a challenging expedition to the Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. What started as an adventure quickly descended into one of the most bizarre and tragic mysteries of the 20th century. When the group failed to report back, a search party was dispatched, leading to a truly disturbing discovery at what became known as Dyatlov Pass. Their tent was found abandoned and torn open from the inside. Even more unsettling were the hikers themselves, discovered scattered across the snowy landscape some hundreds of meters from the camp. They were found in various states of undress, some with severe internal injuries but no external wounds, fractured skulls, and missing soft tissue. One individual even had signs of radiation contamination on their clothing. The official Soviet investigation concluded that a compelling unknown force caused their deaths. To this day, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most chilling reminders of how quickly an expedition can turn into an inexplicable nightmare. In 1991, 2 hikers in the Ötzi Alps stumbled upon a discovery that would rewrite prehistory: the remarkably preserved remains of a man later dubbed Ötzi the Iceman. Dating back approximately 5,300 years, Ötzi is Europe's oldest known natural human mummy. But what makes this discovery truly disturbing isn't just his ancient age, but the violent reality of his final moments. For years, scientists thought that he had simply succumbed to the cold. However, modern technology revealed a much darker story. An arrowhead was found lodged in his left shoulder, and evidence suggested that he suffered a massive blow to the head. He was being hunted. Even more unsettling, a number of individuals closely associated with Ötzi's discovery and research have met untimely ends, leading some to whisper about an ancient curse. While likely a series of coincidences, the curse of Ötzi adds another layer of intrigue to this already disturbing window into the Copper Age. During an excavation at a 7,000-year-old Neolithic settlement in Germany, archaeologists expected to find pottery and standard burials. Instead, they amassed a sight of unimaginable horror. They discovered the remains of over 500 people, including infants whose bones were covered in intentional cut marks and scrapings that were identical to how animals were butchered at the time. This wasn't a case of starvation. The evidence suggested that a massive systemic ritual where victims were brought from hundreds of miles away only to be processed and consumed. Skulls were meticulously cleaned to create ritual cups, and tongues were removed. The scale of violence, hundreds of people ending their lives in a single coordinated ritual, makes this one of the most disturbing archaeological discoveries in European history. In a quiet cemetery in Poland, an archaeological expedition uncovered a series of graves that suggest a community gripped by absolute terror. They found 5 skeletons that had been buried with sickles placed across their throats or heavy rocks wedged underneath their jaws. They weren't standard burial rites, these were anti-vampiric measures. The sickle was placed so that if the deceased attempted to rise from the grave, the blade would take their life a second time. This discovery reveals the profound fear that dominated these communities during outbreaks of disease like cholera. They believed the first person to pass away in an outbreak would return as a supernatural threat, leading them to mutilate the remains of their own neighbors to protect the living. In 1845, Sir John Franklin set off from England with 2 ships, the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror, to find the Northwest Passage. They were the most advanced ships of their time, but they vanished into the Arctic ice. For over 150 years, the fate of the 129 men remained a mystery until modern expeditions began finding the remains on King William Island. What explorers found was truly disturbing. Evidence from these skeletal remains showed signs of lead poisoning from poorly soldered tin cans, scurvy, and starvation. But the most horrifying discovery was the physical evidence of the bones that suggested the crew had eventually resorted to eating their own in a desperate attempt to survive. The transformation of a high society British naval expedition into a nightmare of ice and desperation remains one of the most grim discoveries in the history of polar exploration. On the island of Åland, Sweden, archaeologists exploring an ancient ring fort called Sandborg expected to find signs of a typical abandoned settlement. Instead, they found a frozen moment of extreme violence. They discovered bodies lying exactly where they fell, in doorways, in the middle of rooms, and even slumped into hearths. Unlike most ancient battles where the victors take the loot and the survivors bury the dead, at Sandborg, the bodies were left to rot where they were taken. Valuable gold jewelry was just left untouched, suggesting that the goal wasn't theft, but total annihilation. This site of an entire community left unburied for 1500 years suggested a massacre so terrifying that no one in the surrounding area dared to return to the site to lay the victims to rest. In the waters off the coast of Japan, an area known as the Devil's Sea or the Dragon's Triangle, sailors have for centuries reported baffling and disturbing phenomena. This region is infamous for unexplained disappearances, but perhaps even more unsettling are the frequent discoveries of ghost ships. Vessels found adrift, completely abandoned with no crew and no signs of struggle. One of the most famous and disturbing cases involved the Orang Medan. When rescuers boarded the ship, they found the entire crew deceased, their faces frozen in expressions of sheer terror, eyes wide open pointing towards something unseen. There were no visible injuries, and before the ship could be towed, it mysteriously caught fire and then exploded. Whether it was toxic gases or something more inexplicable, the discovery of a death ship where everyone perished simultaneously in fear is the stuff of maritime nightmares. Our number 1 most disturbing discovery takes us high into the Andes Mountains to the summit of the volcano Llullaillaco. In 1999, an expedition unearthed something that redefined our understanding of Incan ritual. 3 children frozen solid and perfectly preserved for over 500 years. These were the children of Llullaillaco, and they are considered the best preserved mummies in the world. The preservation is so exquisite that blood is still in their hearts, and their skin looks soft to the touch. What makes the discovery profoundly disturbing is the evidence of their final year. Tests on their hair revealed that they were fattened up with elite foods and drugged with cocoa leaves and alcohol for months before being led to the top of the 22,000-foot volcano. They were placed in burial chambers while still alive and sedated, where they eventually succumbed to the cold. Seeing the serene faces of these children, knowing that they were victims of a state-sanctioned ritual sacrifice, is a deeply unsettling encounter with a past where young life was the ultimate offering. From inexplicable vanishings to chilling ritualistic sacrifices, these finds challenge our perceptions and leave us with more questions than answers. Which of these discoveries do you find to be the most disturbing? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video into the unknown, be sure to like this video, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss another video. Thanks for watching. I've been your host, Johnny Rogers, and I'll see you on the next one.